Hey everybody, thank you so much for joining. We will get started here in just a couple of minutes. Grab a soda, grab a cup of coffee, and we'll get going here in another minute or two as we allow more attendees to join in. But thank you so much for joining the NETdepot Managed Cloud Services Pushing Cloud to the Edge webinar powered by Zadara. We'll be right back. Good morning, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Managed Cloud Services NETdepot powered by Zadara. We're pushing cloud to the edge. We're going to focus on how do we simplify your cloud experience. Appreciate you joining us today and look forward to spending time with you. And we'll make this interesting and it's certainly worth your while. Real briefly, what we want to do is we're going to do some introductions and talk about NETdepot and Zadara. We'll define some definitions, and then we're going to talk about what the heck is going on in the industry. And then we'll introduce to you the NETdepot Managed Cloud Services of both zCompute and zStorage, which we'll go into more detail later. Also use cases, and then summarize up at the beginning of the next hour. So thank you so much again for joining. My name is Derek Danskin. I'm the Partner Marketing Manager for Zadara in support of NETdepot. And I'd also like to ask Ben to introduce himself.
Good morning, Derek, over there on the West Coast, and good morning or afternoon, depending on where you all are joining us from today. We're excited to have you here. My name is Ben Beasley, and I am Vice President Operations here at NETdepot. Derek, it's always a pleasure to get to spend some time with you and our partners over at Zadara. Recently, I was fortunate enough to spend some time with your CEO, Nelson, down in Miami. Our President and Chief Cloud Officer, William Souter, and I talked with Nelson about what you guys are doing with the Alfa Romeo Racing. I'm sure you're going to touch on that today, but the value you guys bring to them was one of the many reasons we at NETdepot chose to partner with you all. At NETdepot, we provide customer success as a service, and this can only be achieved by aligning NETdepot's offerings with strategic partners that provide products and solutions that can drive success. And implementing Zadara products into our solution has been a huge part of our customer success here at NETdepot. So who is NETdepot? Many of you may not know, but NETdepot has been around for over 25 years now, and being able to sustain and grow a business in this space for that amount of time should speak volumes about us. At NETdepot, customer success is our product, and we accomplish this by architecting right-sized solutions that meet all of the customer's requirements. All of our products are NETdepot solutions that in many cases powered by products or solutions from one of our many partners like Zadara. These products, coupled with NETdepot's instrumentation and technical professionals, generate success for our customers. NETdepot's mission is to provide a best-in-class customer experience with a customer-first mindset, because we know at NETdepot, we wouldn't be here today without our customers, and their success equates to NETdepot's success. NETdepot currently has physical presence in 4 locations: Houston, which is also our corporate headquarters, in the TRG data center, our sister company, which happens to also be owned by the same capital group as NETdepot. So that is our data center, that is our home. Atlanta, where I'm speaking to you all from today, New Jersey, and San Francisco. From the 4 of those locations, we can provide our complete product set, a security-focused managed infrastructure with an emphasis on 4 key areas: compute, however you want to consume it; data protection, whether that be from local and offsite backups to full business continuity or disaster recovery; cybersecurity; and managed services. We strive to amplify the value of your staff, not replace them. We want to simplify your workloads and enable your teams to focus on revenue generating tasks, and let us at NETdepot handle the rest. Next slide. We offer a carefully curated tech stack that delivers best-in-class infrastructure and platform services across either on-prem, with us at NETdepot, and/or within hyperscale cloud providers. Wherever you and your workloads are, we can help you. Our products and instrumentation can be used to optimize and secure your workloads, regardless of where that workload lives. Any cloud, any device, anywhere, we got a solution for you here at NETdepot. We're going to spend a great deal of time talking about how we achieve this by implementing Zadara solutions into the NETdepot products. But I want you to be aware, at NETdepot, we are a multi-cloud infrastructure and managed service provider. We can deliver it wherever you need it and how you want to consume it. Next slide. At NETdepot, I have no off-the-shelf cookie-cutter solutions for any of our customers. We take a great deal of pride in providing a solution and/or a set of solutions that meet all of your requirements, and providing the ability to consume those solutions the way you want to consume them. We spend a lot of time with our customers during technical discovery, understanding their workloads and requirements, and place those where they need to be and on the platform they need to be to optimize the value of the solution. Every solution is customized specifically for that customer. On the compute side, we have numerous solutions on the compute side with different delivery methods and consumption models, multi-tenancy or single, either by the drink from our shared and public cloud infrastructure, or a dedicated private cloud solution powered by VMware, backed by Zadara storage, or at the edge with a utility-based model and our edge cloud computing platform powered by Zadara. Again, putting your workloads on the right platform and the right physical locations they need to get the performance you expect. Data protection. We have an array of products built for data protection, whether it be daily backups, business continuity, or DR. Why do we have multiple products? Because each one of your workloads has a different requirements. Some may only need daily backups with short-term retention. Others may need daily backups that require long-term retention for some kind of compliancy. Some may need multiple backups throughout the day. We get over to the business continuity and DR side of the house, disaster recovery. We know that not all of your workloads fall in this category. So we have solutions for those workloads, regardless of your RTO, your RPO, we have a solution. And like our compute, we put these solutions in geographic regions that meet your requirements. Our customers can consume one or more of these solutions for the various requirements. It means it's not a one-size-fits-all solution. We craft a data protection solution that match each individual workload's requirements. So that being said, I know you're going to talk about Veeam a little bit later, Derek, and how we consume Zadara to be the backend storage of Veeam. Our customers can have Veeam as a backup and combination of a NETdepot product powered by Veeam or a NETdepot product powered by Cohesity, or a subset of both of those. Cybersecurity, we have a world-class cybersecurity solution here at NETdepot. It provides SIEM, MDR, EDR, XDR, all in one solution. It has AI and robotic process automation. That product can go out there and discover all your devices across your network, model them, learn their behaviors, alerting us to the anomalies as they appear, robotic process automation to react to these anomalies. If you currently have a set of security products in use that you like, you don't have to do a rip and replace with our security products. Our security product can bolt on to these other products that you have, utilize their sensors and data to enhance your overall security. You get the best of both worlds. And managed services, this is our bread and butter. Coupled with our amazing tech stack, our instrumentation employees drive the success of our customers. We believe in adding value to every interaction with our customers. We treat every engagement with the same attitude, customer first. We can manage our workloads to whatever degree you desire, not replacing your staff, but again, amplifying the value of your staff and completing tasks and providing advanced monitoring to include application performance monitoring that relieves that burden from your staff so they can focus on, again, the revenue generating task. We at NETdepot want to be an extension of your team. Your success is our success, and customer success as a service is a NETdepot product. Thank you, Derek.
Excellent. Thanks so much, Ben. Really appreciate that and the introduction to NETdepot and to be able to share with people as to how that we work together, and that's what we're going to discuss further today. Really impressed with what you bring to the table and the way that you work. What we want to do is to tell you a little bit about Zadara and what we bring as well, and some of the things that we bring along with this environment is that we're an on-demand global cloud services company. It's available in a private data center or any of Zadara's edge clouds. If you take a look at the locations out here, we're over 10 years old, and as a result, we've built a number of different locations. You can see that we're taking a look at AWS that has some different locations here around the world, but all of the yellow dots, if you will, are where we have clouds. So we have over 300 plus clouds that are in place and over 300 petabytes. This shows 280, this is aged a little bit, and 250 partners like NETdepot. But you can see that when we talk about pushing data to the edge, this gives us a capability that there's different sites that are out there around the world to be able to get that closer to where your customers are and where you would like to be able to, that your clients internally are at in your companies to be able to get closer to the edge. One of the things we like to focus on as Zadara is that we're actually a sponsor of the Alfa Romeo Racing Formula One F1 team that's written up and featured here. And what we are do is we're the official cloud supplier for Alfa Romeo Racing. And what happens is that a little bit different than what we're used to here, primarily here in the States with, for instance, NASCAR or other types of racing, is that they are collecting data on a regular basis throughout the race. So as they're racing, they're collecting how much fuel are you using, how is the car handling, all of the different data points, how's the engine running, everything, oil pressure, hydraulic pressure, all of those kinds of things. They're bringing that back in, and right there at the pit boxes, if you see it, they've got a number of people that are lined up right in front of screens that are analyzing that for every one of the teams, and specifically for Alfa Romeo F1, for the Orleans team, they're using Zadara as their official cloud services. Right now, they're taking that and they're moving that up to the cloud, and then they analyze that all week long to get ready for the next race and the next geography. What we're planning on doing in the future is actually taking that data and being able to have it in the truck and have it be right there on site at each of the tracks as they go around the world. I know that recently we were sponsoring and some of our clients had visited the Grand Prix over in Britain, and then the following 2 weeks later was over in Hungary. So this is literally around the world and collecting data at the edge. Again, that's what we really want to do, is we want to talk about how do we push this data and how do we push cloud to the edge. So let's talk about when we talk about cloud and the edge, my experience is that a lot of people have a lot of different definitions in regards to it. So at least I wanted to lay a foundation for this presentation as to what we're defining as cloud. So in this situation, we'll talk about cloud computing as the on-demand availability of computer system resources, especially data storage and computing power, without direct active management by the user. How do I get that out there and have somebody just turn it on? And a lot of times in my situation is that I've got different tools in my garage, and when I go to it, I've set them there, they work fine. When I go to use them, I want them to just work. That's a similar type situation that we're talking about here, is that when the user comes and they just want to make sure that it works inside of your organizations. When we define edge, we're finding that edge is a distributed computed paradigm that includes the deployment of infrastructure and applications outside of the centralized data centers. as close as necessary to where the data is generated and consumed. So what we're really doing is we're getting data out there that we want to focus on as to where it's being generated and where it's being consumed, and having it not necessarily be traveling halfway or 3/4 of the way around the world or to a data center that's completely remote. If we need to have that data there and we want to analyze it and we want to be able to work with it at that point in time, we want to talk about that. That's getting data out at the edge. So let's talk a little bit about the challenges in the enterprise and what we're going along those lines. And what we'll be doing is walking through and talking about these and how we address each of these throughout the presentation. So my manager had put this slide together and he calls it, "What the heck is going on?" So what are we seeing that's out there when we're listening to customers, and what kind of demand are we getting and what kind of wishes, and saying we really are having some different challenges with that. Some of them are talking about like repatriation. How do we take, and we've already jumped up into AWS or Azure or in that type of a situation into a public cloud, and it seemed like it was going to be the greatest thing since sliced bread, and all of a sudden the bread may have come back a little moldy on the ends or whatever the case would be, and that we are not getting the consistent performance or this cost savings. The bill comes in and it's like, that's not what we budgeted for. So how do we take a look and have the flexibility to be able to move between clouds and repatriate if necessary? We're seeing an awful lot of people that are going from a CapEx to an OpEx model at the edge. So what we want to do is that how can I do a pay-as-you-go or utility-based pricing in regards to my compute and storage processes and the different resources that I'm looking for? And you notice these little logos that I have over here to the side. We'll be tying those in throughout the presentation. We talked a little bit about the edge and latency. We talked about the Formula One car. How do we get that data as close to where it's being consumed and where it's being generated so that we can make sure that we're giving the best timely response back to our end users? And then utilize local partnerships. How do we, rather than calling an 800 number and saying, please press 1 for this or 2 for this, and going through a number of different steps, how can I get in touch with somebody that says, hey, Bob, nice to see you. What's going on? Familiar with my opportunity, whatever the case would be. And that's where NETdepot and Zadara are partnering with you. And that we've got a situation that they'll understand. You've got a number and a person that you can call that you trust, that has a competency and can be able to bring the right resources to bear as quickly as needed to be able to address any challenges you might have. And then another thing that we're finding is that we get into a technology refresh type situation is that I've got technology that's out there and it's getting older. How do I get rid of that? And what can I do to be able to migrate that and be able to move that over into a CapEx or to an OpEx model and be able to not have to worry about that every 3 to 5 years? So with that being said, if we could, we're going to bring up a polling question. Ariana, would you please bring up polling question number 1? And what we'd like to do is to have you guys fill out the poll that goes along those lines of how and where do you deploy most of your resources today? And just check one of those, and we'll leave this open here for just a moment and see what we've got. I'm interested in finding out what you guys have got started out there, what our crowd's finding, and what the results are of what we'd really like to see as far as those kinds of things. Different things are coming in. It's an interesting mix, but it sounds like they're breaking up between all of them. Interesting indeed. And we'll summarize those here in a minute. Lots of different polls coming in and getting well going along those lines. I'm sorry, go ahead, Ben.
No, I was going to speak on this. I think, here at NETdepot, we have customers that have all 4. You're saying you're getting a mix. We're getting a mix on the poll here. I think, when the hyperscalers, hyperclouds came out, there was a race to get to the cloud, and lots of people moved a bunch of their workloads to the cloud. Boards were telling them we have to be in the cloud, and I think over the last several years we've seen about 35% of that pull back, whether it be cost or predictability, capacity planning. There's a lot of hidden costs with the hyperscalers. But we benefited from that with MSP locations. We have customers on-premise stuff. Those have moved to the cloud or MSPs because of frozen budgets, making capital investments and commitments difficult to do, so they wanted to go to the OpEx model. I don't think there's a wrong answer here. I think all those are good. You know, you have cloud native applications that require to be in a hyperscaler like platform, and luckily we have Z Compute that competes very well with that. A lot of people like to focus on more revenue generating stuff and get to a more OpEx model, so they go to MSP locations and do infrastructure as a service or platform as a service. Some people still hang on to stuff on-prem, they like to touch it. And then co-location. Depends on your budget and your staffing, but no matter where they are or what they're doing, at NETdepot, our staff and our instrumentation can manage their solutions and protect it across all those locations.
Excellent. And from what we're seeing here from the results, we're seeing that we've got 43% that are in hypercloud, such as an AWS or Azure. So, 40% there. And then I find also is that 30% are on premises, that they still have that type of a situation. And then it's broken up between MSP locations and co-location sites along those lines. So very good. Thank you, everybody, for participating. We really appreciate you bringing that to the table. The objective that we're looking for here is that how do we get that data out at the edge? How do we get it closer to the edge and be able to simplify that cloud experience? So we really want to focus on any time zone, any storage type, any applications, and also any location, even yours, and make sure that it's 100% consumption based. So that's what we're going to talk about for the rest of our time together today. Thank you so much. NETdepot enterprise grade managed cloud services. Again, we just as a summary: compute power, data storage, backup and disaster recovery. NETdepot and these enterprise grade cloud services that can bring the complete package to you in your environment and to address all of your projects and support you for your upcoming years to come. Let's talk a little bit about your expert managed cloud services. NETdepot and Zadara delivers enterprise cloud services, all of these different things as we've talked about. When we talk about powered by Zadara, we start out with that when we started out this business model at Zadara, what we really wanted to do is to design what we wanted to be able to serve to the clients. So over 10 years ago, some really smart people, and some of them I know, got together and they said, how are we going to design this and what do we need to have to make this happen before we start building the product and writing code? So if you take a look over here at the far left, we're enterprise grade performance and security. That was just table stakes to be able to get in, to make sure that we had virtual CPUs and memory, EC2 compatibility, solid state drives, hard drives, in-flight and at rest encryption snapshots, mirroring, high availability. Those are all the common terms and common things that are thought of anytime that anybody's looking at a storage solution. We also want to make sure that it was fully elastic. So it needed to have infinite resources and pay only for usage. Again, this has to do with the utility-based model. We're really looking about how can we place this where it needs to be for the client, whether it be on premises in your data center, co-location, or in the cloud, and then be able to scale up or down, not just up, but also down if necessary, and pay as you go. So you're only paying for what you're consuming and what you need to be able to be successful to support your clients internally as well as your customers, your internal customers. And then with that being said, which we touched on earlier, is it needs to be fully managed. How do we go out there and make sure that we build in that we're going to make sure that you don't run out of disk space? We know what's going on. We can detect and identify if there's any disk errors that are going along those lines so that we can get those swapped out. Make sure that you've got 24/7/365 seamless migrations and upgrades from with senior technical resources and the support that goes along with that, so that you can call and say, hey, I'm looking for this type of a situation, and give you insight into what's going on with that. Those are the things that are very important to go along those lines that we wanted to do. So with that all being said, is that what we want to do now is let's go in and let's do another polling question, if you would please, Ariana, and just to get an idea of who's out there and what's going on, interested in the reasons that you were considering looking to a private or public cloud. So if Ariana, if you could open that up, please. That's great. Taking a look at that. Some people are coming in. Some are looking for OpEx. In this situation, you can go out and choose all that apply. Excellent. Thanks so much for being a part of this. Appreciate you being here. We've got 50% of you have voted. If the rest of you want to jump in, that would be great. Interested in your opinion and your thoughts along those lines? All right. Excellent. Excellent. Why don't you go ahead and close that out if you would, please, and present that, Ariana? So we're seeing that we've got an equal divide between agile IT resources that are always on demand and also an OpEx business model. So that's what we're seeing in the marketplace. That doesn't surprise me. And then divided, that's over 50% on both of those. And then 30% on technologies that never grow old, and 33 or a third of you for lower overall costs. Excellent. That helps us a lot to be able to take a look and to understand where you're coming from. Let's talk a little bit about Zadara real quickly. And what we want to do here is, I'm sorry, go ahead, Ben.
No, I was just going to speak on that polling question. I think, again, frozen IT budgets make capital investment commitments difficult. So if they were able to get into a OpEx model, that helps alleviate that. Companies are introducing in cost cutting and increased operational potential as a part of their broader business strategy. Capacity planning is an issue for a lot of people, right? And then that goes back to making a capital expense. So having a scalable model, from the cloud, whether it be public or private, makes it more attractive. And bringing new products to market faster, right? Maybe if you're doing it from your colo or from your on-prem, bringing products to market faster with the scalability of virtualization, being able to deploy machines within a matter of minutes, which used to take maybe 40 hours to order hardware, get it racked, stacked, cabled, get everything loaded on it. So there's a lot of reasons to be moving to that stuff. IT staff spending valuable time supporting infrastructure. They could be better spent supporting business functions. I think lots of reasons why people would consider moving to the public cloud or a private cloud.
Well, and I think it also is if you've got new projects that are coming down the line, this would be a great opportunity to say, hey, I can fire that right up for you in a short period of time, as opposed to having a long time to go along those lines.
That's right.
All right. Very good. Let's talk a little bit about some of the different environments with Zadara. Is that the one that I want to focus in is up here in the right-hand corner. You can see there's a lot of different names here that you recognize, but one of them was the Omnitrax. If you're going down the freeways and traveling back and forth, you can see 18-wheelers that says they might have an Omnitrax environment here. They're taking that data off of that truck and it's loading it up into the Zadara cloud, and they're basically working and being able to manage that data and track it. How long has the driver been driving? Where is he at? When will his deliveries be there? And also within the laws of making sure that he doesn't drive too many miles in any given period of time. So let's talk about the solution, what we're bringing to the table here. In this environment is that we've got three different environments over here to the left is that we've got Z compute, Z networking, and Z storage. And what we really wanted to do is that when we were bringing this together is that we talked about that we wanted to build something that was going to be an environment that would work for you. So with the Z compute services, making sure that they're EC2 compatible. So in the event that for 56% of you that were out there on the Azure cloud or the AWS cloud, is that if you've already got scripts that are built to run with EC2, those are already in place. This elastic compute is fully elastic. It's got block storage, virtual private cloud, and load balancing. So we've got all of the services from a compute perspective that are important. And then when we'll break these out in a little bit further, but also is that in a Z storage environment is that we've got block, file, and object is what people are asking for today more and more. Let's talk a little bit about Z compute along those lines. Again, virtual machines over here, they can be in co-location in a NETdepot site, they can be in your data center, or they can be in a public cloud. You notice I've got a slide over here in the corner that shows OpEx. This is going to be an operating expenditure, and it gives you compute resources when you need them, how you need them, and where you need them. and it gives you the capability to add and delete and to be able to ramp them up or slow them down, whatever the case would be. This is an example of that you can go out and within 2 or 3 clicks, you can go out and basically create a Z-Compute cloud service and a couple, 3 screens, set it up, name it, choose the resources that you need and the power that you need and the memory you need and those kinds of things, and be ready and good to go. And it's up and online with just in a time of a matter of minutes. And this is available, we talked about this previously, but this is available anywhere. This could be on your premises. Remember, we talked about your data, even your location. So in the event that you actually want that to be on your premises and have that OpEx model, we can install this and put this together in your data center, all managed by NETdepot and Zadara. We can put it into a co-location, such as an Equinix or a Cyxtera or something along those lines. And also we can put it over here into a NETdepot data center and have it all managed by NETdepot along those lines. Let's talk a little bit about Z storage. With Z storage is that what we really want to focus on is that we call this the virtual private storage array, or VPSA is the way that I'll refer to it in the future. And with this VPSA, when we started to design this, we wanted to make sure that we could address all media types. So it could have hard drives, it can have solid state drives, or it can be a hybrid, and also there can be cache that's built into it to be able to meet the needs and make it very flexible and make sure that it'll meet your needs and what you're looking for. Again, file, block, object. Take a look at this over here. Is that these are the different data types that are out here, and also the compatibilities. This gives you the capability that you can go out and create one VPSA and have it be dedicated and working for you. We'll talk about that here in just a second. Again, available in co-locations or data centers or in the cloud. Can be configured along those lines. Again, getting that data where you need it and where it's going to be consumed and generated. To create this, here we've got a couple of different screenshots, just as an example, is that we've got a VPSA storage array over here being created, a couple 3 clicks, and you're good to go, or a VPSA object storage array. And again, go through and be able to pick that out. This is all conceptual up to this point, but now let's talk about it from a tactical perspective. When I go out here and I decide that I want to create a VPSA number 1 in this environment, it's going to be for a database as a service, so I need to make sure that it's a performance. I'm going to set this up, and this is going to be set up such that I go out and pick out what do I need as far as CPUs is concerned that are basically going to work for technical people as a storage controller to be able to manage these. In this type of an environment, what I'm looking at is that since it's database as a service, I'm going to create these all to be SSDs, as we noticed over here. And what I'm going to do is now I'm going to go and I'm going to allocate 4 drives based on the consumption that I've asked for and be able to set this all up as a situation. Now, the part that's interesting in regards to this is that when we had a client that you saw on the previous slide, Verizon came and they went to AWS and they went to Azure and they went to other players and they said, what we want to do is that we want to create disk. And they go, sure, we can do that. And they said, but we have a contingency. If you've ever called into Verizon or your phone company, they have got lots of security that's associated with them. Is that you have to go through and validate who you are, what your phone number is, your location, your date of birth, all of those kinds of things. And it's because those have been put in place by regulatory. As a result of that, Verizon's need is that in the event that this drive here should go down, and its drives go down on occasion, what will happen in our environment is we would just fail over to this one and make sure that that's the case. But the special contingency that Verizon had is I need you to return this drive to me and be able to give it back to me so that I can destroy it and turn it to dust. I want to make sure that there's nothing there and I have to be able to do that. In a public cloud environment, that's not going to happen. But in this situation it gives you a multi-tenant architecture with a single tenant experience. So now I'm coming in and I'm looking at this and these drives are dedicated to me. And that means that I don't have to worry about noisy neighbors. I don't have to worry about the latency challenges that go along with that. This is what Zadara built their business on. This is where we have our patents. This is what differentiates us from the rest of the world. If we take a look at that and go a little bit further down here, now we've got hard drive and cache, and this is going to be for a performance NAS that we built this out. I may not need the dollars that are associated with an SSD or the performance. And then in the event that I want to do object archiving and get this out there, I can just set this up as a hard drive and be able to put this out here on slower drives. It's going to be less cost to be able to archive these than I would if in this type of a situation up here. Again, remember, when I come to my VPSA, I can set it up to be file, block, or object, and it's all within one interface. Talked about this before with Z Compute. We can take this in any location. We can stand up this Z storage over here in NETdepot's data center and have you be able to access it there. We can stand it up in your location if you need to. We'll talk a little bit more about that with a transition, as well as into a co-location environment. Also take a look is that we're very close and work closely with AWS, Azure, and Google Cloud that we can go and direct connect into them. So in the event that you've got CPU that is being here, but you've gotten tired of the ingress and regress charges that come on your bill every month for data, well, now what we do is we can use direct connect to be able to get that, have your CPU usage at AWS go right over onto a Zadara platform in a Z storage platform and be able to, through NETdepot, and be able to access that data that way at a much less cost, at probably about 50% of the cost of what you may be paying at AWS. But that's for a later discussion in more detail. And then, of course, we can bring Z Compute into those locations, and you can have a complete stack to be able to bring that together. When we create these and put them together, when we hit go on these while we're creating either the Z Compute or the Z storage, that's when the Zadara magic comes alive. The technology that we bring to the table comes alive, and we are able to bring a complete solution to you. Let's talk a little bit about use cases and how we use these and what makes sense along these lines. The first one we're going to talk about here is in a co-location, such as NETdepot, whether it be in Houston or Atlanta. I'll turn it over to Ben and ask him to discuss some of this situation for use case one, please.
Thanks, Derek. This recently just came up. We were able to solve for a colo customer down in Houston at our TRG data center. Our sister company had an exponential growth in data and had outgrown their SAN and couldn't really afford a capital expense to go out and purchase a new SAN or expand the existing one. The existing one was a little older as well. We were able to provide Z Compute or Z storage to our customers directly in the colo and offer them storage as a service directly from within the TRG data center, consuming the NETdepot Z storage while still being an existing colo customer within the TRG data center.
Excellent, thanks so much. So we also have the other situation that we've got here in regards to a situation here where we might have cameras or applications that are in a remote location. And then what we can do is that we can put Z Compute and Z storage actually in that co-location. And then you might be able to then take and mirror those off and DR and backup over here to Houston, Atlanta within a NETdepot main center. And in the event that you choose to, you've got potentially remote offices or back offices or whatever the case would be. And if latency isn't a problem and they're close to either Houston or Atlanta, what we can do is then just VPN those in there. You notice that what we do is that we're trying to take this data that's out here at the edge and be able to transfer it to the core, but make sure that the edge has everything that's available when they need it, such as these Z Compute and Z storage resources right on site for these applications in your location. I'm going to do a little bit of a conceptual here in regards to talking about on-ramping to NETdepot and what we were talking about with that co-location environment is that you might have XYZ terabytes, just whatever the number is. We're just using this to show an example of stable pricing. And this might be an older system that you want to migrate from. And I worked for HP for a number of different years, so I'll pick on HP a little bit, because this might be an old 3-par system. And what my need is that I need to get off of that 3-par system because either my lease is getting more expensive or the maintenance is getting more expensive. It could be a number of different ones. Just because I'm familiar with HP is I'm picking on them. What I can do in this situation is is that I want to move this over to NETdepot. Right now, I've got this all over here in this environment, and now it's 0 terabytes, but it's $5,000 a month. And I've got both a situation, which we'll go into tactical later, of having Z storage being used here. Over time, I'm going to migrate that over to NETdepot or onto a Z storage platform. Again, I'm going to do it one application at a time. I'm going to be very conservative in regards to it. I'm going to make sure that all of my users and all of my department heads are very competent in regards to what they're doing and how it's working, and that I'm bringing a good service to them from an IT perspective. And then what I'm going to do is maybe I'm at 50-50 over here in this situation. And again, now I'm at $5,000 a month because I'm only consuming XYZ terabytes. Eventually, you notice we're talking about migration here, is that, again, now what I've done is I've been able to transfer that all over, and I'm still at $5,000 a month. Again, stable pricing based on the consumption that we have. That's the conceptual. This is the tactical that we'll go through here a little bit. Again, I've got my primary storage, pick on 3-part for whatever it's worth. Now I'm going to put Z storage in that location at your site. I'm going to migrate and mirror and resync and robocopy that data over here onto the Z storage environment, onto a VPSA. Again, one application at a time, making sure that we're confident, got all the data, making sure we're good to go. Once that happens, now what I can do is I can break this migration mirror and I can run in my location on the Z storage platform. Now what I want to do is I want to free that space up and I want to get it over to NETdepot. What I can now do is start to use VPSA to mirror from one VPSA over to another VPSA over time. And again, next step in the road is to be able to make sure that everything's working correctly and that we're going along those lines. Once that happens, I can then break this mirror that's happening here. This is now, all the data is over here and running correctly and running confidently in the NETdepot environment. I'm going to take and I ship this VPSA hardware back to Zadara and NETdepot. You see that we're doing here step 1, step 2. Again, install and migrate data to a VPSA, use the VPSA as production, mirror your data to your site or from your site, one application at a time, and then break the mirror, bring it up to NETdepot, and then ship the Z storage back. Again, the reason in our example we had before is this is $5,000 for XYZ terabytes. Your pricing may vary. I'm just using it as an example of stable pricing. But the point being is that, you know, now you've got the confidence to be able to move this over here. And moving and migrating data is a touchy subject. We're trying to make sure that we've got all the safety nets in place to make sure that you and your users are confident and comfortable. So before we go here, let's go back to our third polling question, if you would, Ariana, and let's bring up and let's talk about hydration. So if everybody would take a look at this and fill in is that what in regards to an on-ramp use case, and you're seeing in the following, what kind of challenges are you seeing and what would you like to do? What makes sense to you? So if you can go ahead and vote, and we'll just get your opinion. The results are coming in. I appreciate everybody taking a look and voting here. Move that on around. Got about 15 seconds left. All right, very good. If you'd close that out, please, Ariana, and present that. So interesting that we come up here is 60% are saying we want to move to a cloud that will offer low price, agile resources and OpEx. So that's over half of you that are out there. And then needing as in a service, IT solutions closer to the data, out at the edge, and then would like stable pricing regardless of the location. Excellent, very good. Thanks so much. If you can close that back down, thank you, Ariana. Let's talk a little bit about data protection. In this environment, we're partnering with Veeam, and we really want to take a look at the Veeam, and they refer to it as the 32110 zip code. in this environment is that they're talking about that they're saying to be fully protected, you want to be able to have 3 different copies of the data, 2 different media types, one of which is offsite, one which is immutable or air gapped, and then be able to test it and actually be able to bring it up with 0 errors. Recently, the University of Texas had done a study in regards to it, and they said for those that go out and test it, over 50% of them were not able to bring their system back up when they were doing the testing. So it's so important that to be able to work along those lines. In a previous life, when I was an SA, is that I would go out at midnight and they would hand me, and I'd look at them and they go, we need to completely rebuild the disks. And I would look at them and say, have you ever done this before? And they just sort of had this glazed over look in their eyes. So we want to make sure that how do we protect it? How do we make sure that we don't have any challenges, and then be able to make sure that we can test it? So with NETdepot and in partnership with Veeam and Zadara, we take a look at here take a look at the colors that we have. We've got 3 different copies. One of them is that we're going to take it right off of the primary storage and back it up onto a Z storage array that's on site in the customer's premises, on your premises, potentially. And then once we do that, we'll use Cloud Connect to get another copy over here into NETdepot and another copy to get it off into an array block offsite environment. We've got 2 different media types. So this might be in 2 different environments, that we've got different environments as far as whether it be cloud or block and file. And then also we've got one which is offsite, which would be this one, and then one which is immutable or air gap. So we're going to air gap this down into similar like object storage and along those lines. And then this gives us through data labs and VCSP access to NETdepot is that we can go and switch over and actually test it and make sure that we've got everything there. So this gives us a scale up backup repository to be able to work along those lines and protect you. That way we've got challenges that we're hearing an awful lot in the past in regards to ransomware coming up and different things like that. Now we can be able to make sure that we're protected and the data's in a good situation. Real briefly, as we wrap up, please hang in there with me. We're just about there, and we've got some offers here at the end for you. Your day-to-day experience with NETdepot Managed Cloud Services is that the SLA is 5 nines. We really want to have 5 nines environment to make sure that we're providing to you. We'd like to have it be 100%. However, we know that that's not realistic. The reality of what we're running into here is actually 5 nines and a half. So our track record over multiple years exceeds what our status is, and of course we continue to build on that. And in the event that there were any interruptions or challenges that go along those lines, it's 100% credit based. So there's nothing that you're paying for that you're not using, and of course we'll bring it up and fix it as quickly as possible in concert with NETdepot and Zadara. I'm going to go back and revisit here is that I had visited a client before that they were in a situation where they bought 500 terabytes of data to address a 250 terabytes, but they had to buy for 3 to 5 years out. That was their budget for capital expenditure. As a result of that, they bought 500 terabytes, and as things went along, they found out that they might have 250, 270, but they still had an awful lot. And then all of a sudden, it comes to the end of that 4 to 5 year period. The asset is beginning to age, and it's another CapEx, and they're coming back and saying, you need to buy another 500 terabytes to be able to grow into the future. What we're presenting here is an OpEx model. Instead of spending that CapEx and depreciating it all over across time and having an awful lot of gap of wasted spend, because I've spent for 500 terabytes, but I'm only using half to a quarter or to 2/3 of it, is that this gives us the capability to be able to work on a utility-based pricing. The example that I use along those lines is that I live in Southern California, and we have rainy season and we have dry season. And so to be able to water my lawn or to water my plants, I've got the water that's coming in, and I can turn on the sprinklers when I need it, when it's 95 like today, or I can turn off the water when rain comes in for a couple, 3 days, and I've got lots of cooler weather in the wintertime. So that means that my water bill fluctuates based on how much water I use. Now let's take that into this type of an environment, is that we can do the same thing with Z storage and the same thing with Z compute to give you the resources you need when you need it, based on the actual usage. As we've seen is that disk drives have gone down in price and increased in capacity over time and increased in performance. And you can see here, we've got a chart over here. What will happen here is a lot of times what will happen is we've heard about different customers that have gone out and bought the latest and greatest technology and spent $500,000 on it in a CapEx model. And then 2 months later, as it's being installed, out comes new technology that's much faster, much cheaper, much better. In this type of an environment, when we're talking about utility-based pricing, is that you're going to pay for what you have, and then that allows us, since we're giving it to you as a service, is that we'll upgrade and change that service based on what you'd like to have happen and based on what's important to you. So that way it's not a surprise, makes the migration easier. All those things are being done on the back end so that we can help to manage that and make that work better for you. In the event that you want to be able to see what's going on, is that there's transparency, predictability, and that you can go in and take a look and find out where you're at, how much consumption you're using, and what's going on when we're taking out there and looking at the compute and the storage resources through the NETdepot Managed Cloud Services powered by Zadara. We talked about this before, proactive management, uptime guarantee, notifications and alerts coming to you, 100% guaranteed, 24/7 by 365 with a NETdepot and powered by Zadara and Zadara resources to be able to support you on a regular basis. So let's recap and take a look at where we've been. What we learned is we started out talking about we wanted to be able to migrate data between clouds, data centers, and co-locations. I think we can check that box. We talked about being able to migrate back and forth with Z storage and that you only pay for what you need. How do we model the compute and storage as a service, CapEx to OpEx? How do I go to a utility-based pricing? How do I only pay for what I need and what I'm using rather than paying for the whole program? Needing cloud services closer to the source of the data, how do we get that out to the edge? How do we lower that latency? How do we make sure that we don't have noisy neighbors so that we can get it to where it's being consumed and where it's being generated so that you can work with it from that perspective for your users to be more productive? And then co-location for DR and backup repositories. Now all of a sudden, how do I get this protected? And then also, how do I make sure that the IT resources are current at a reduced cost so that I don't have to worry about doing technology refreshes. I don't have to worry about doing migration. I can take that off of my plate and focus as to what value I can bring to the business.
Wow, Derek, I'm out of breath from all that talking you did. I really appreciate you going through that, and appreciate everyone for being here. We got some free trials available for those that were able to participate in the webinar. Through the end of September, if you contact NETdepot, I got sales staff and solution architects ready to talk to you about the NETdepot solutions powered by Zadara, whether it be Z Computer, Z Storage, and offer you a proof of value on those. So you can reach out to us at hello@netdepot.com. Give us a call at 844-25-CLOUD, or visit our website and interact with us there at netdepot.com.
So real briefly, just to wrap things up of where we started, and we'll finish it that way as well. NETdepot Managed Cloud Services powered by Zadara. We're pushing cloud to the edge to simplify your cloud experience. Start where you want, pay as you go in a utility-based processing, and you can't get it wrong.
I'd like to once again thank everyone for joining us today. Contact NETdepot for more information about our products, specifically those powered by Zadara for the free trial, but any of our products, whether it be from the computing side, data protection, cybersecurity, or managed services. Remember, customer success as a service is what we provide at NETdepot. Thanks again for all your time and sitting through the 54 minutes of listening to Derek talk, because he didn't let me talk any. But Derek, really appreciate you taking the time to spend with us today, and we look forward to hearing from you. Thanks, Derek.
And thanks to all of you for joining us today. We really appreciate your time and look forward to hearing from you soon. Thanks again.